bench.
Hey, hockey fans. Welcome to the Off the Bench Puckcast RHI Revival Edition, a brand new podcast powered by Bench Clears, where we rip open the vault of Roller Hockey International and let the wild stories fly. I'm Joe Carson, your host, and I'm the founder of Bench Clears, and I'm beyond stoked to be joined by a true legend and architect of the league, Steve Pona. From guiding the look of the league and the game to leading league licensing, relationships with hockey equipment manufacturers, supporting each of the teams, guiding international expansion, and even leading the development and evolution of the Jofa Speed Puck, Steve didn't just witness RHI history. You helped make it. Just incredible. This one's personal for me. I grew up playing roller hockey on Long Island, obsessed with the Long Island Jaws and just the raw energy of RHI in general. This league helped shape my love for the game, for roller hockey, and truly my life in general. On this podcast, we're digging into the untold stories of Roller Hockey International, the first coast-to-coast pro roller league in the 90s, how the teams were built, the meaning of the logos, the locker room drama, the all-out brawls, and everything else that made this league so incredible and so unforgettable. You'll hear from ex-players, owners, broadcasters, people who covered RHI and the hockey industry, and even the top collectors of game-worn jerseys as we revive the league that looked like a skate video and hit like a freight train. This isn't just nostalgia, it's the stuff you've never heard. Whether you were a player or worked for one of the teams, a fan in the stands, a player on the street, or just remembering the good old days while taking your kids to hockey, you asked for this and we're bringing it back. So lace up your missions and get ready to get in the game. Ready for action? Your line is up. Let's roll.
Jackson has a breakaway. Judson going down the left. Judson winds, fires, scores!
Steve, so awesome to have you. Always a blast talking to you. Always a blast seeing you. Never a shortage of laughs or awesome stories coming your way. So we are excited to launch this podcast together, and we have such amazing things in the works here for our fans and listeners. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. And
yeah, you, my friend, have a lot of great things in store for the fans of RHI. We're just going to simply talk about some of the stories that bring some of those things to light, but I am excited for what you're bringing to market, my friend.
And that is exactly it. I love how you use the word bring it to life, right? Because when Bench Clears and myself were first searching for this idea, this logo, the Long Island Jaws, old 1996 pixelated JPEG image, hit me on Google, and I was like, there it is. So I dug deep and started looking at these designs and some more of the league, because I remember seeing this logo and attending some games as a kid. And ended up finding you. I looked at the, who's still part of this league, who, has connections to it. So that's where I found you. And before I met you, and now that we've been working together for these 8 months, this was just a design. This was just a 1996 JPEG. It didn't hold, it held some nostalgic memories for me and things like that. But after hearing all of your stories and putting all of these together and hearing about the league and the crazy stories and owners and personalities and everything that drove it, that really brought it back to life. And that's massive. And that's what we want to do for our fans here as well. So you're the one with all the stories. You were the top of the league. An architect of it, absolutely, and you know better than anyone. You've had firsthand experience, so that's what we kind of want to go over in this podcast. We want to hear these stories. We want to hear from some of these personalities that made this league so incredible and everything that it was, and bring this back to life as we release some of these awesome designs for fans.
When you called me, I mean, it was out of the blue, but it was one of the better calls I received of all of 2024. It started off not only a great friendship, and really, it dusted off a lot of memories and a lot of great experiences that formed me as a human being and as a professional. It tickled my passions again, and I owe you a debt of gratitude for helping to bring these things to light, not only for what we're doing here, but for me personally. It really helped me to remember a lot of great stuff in my life. And if we get to share that with some people who also enjoyed RHI and maybe triggered some life passions like yours, then I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
No, I agree. That's exactly it. And I think that's why our relationship is so amicable. We both share the passion for this, and you, through these stories and emotion and life through it, really bring it all back to life. So,
Well, and I want
that's
fans to know, as we're talking about your line and the company, you're a tough cookie, man. You go through your lineup and you create these goods with the same intensity and the same scrutiny and the same demand of quality that I demanded. That's when you caught my attention, and I knew that we were going to create some things together that were going to last, just like RHI. I think your product line is amazing. I think it's fantastic. We're going to talk about quality. We're going to talk about the articulate designs and the efforts that all of us undertook to recreate them. But what I want fans to know first and foremost is this is quality. This is not stuff that you're buying online with some mass licensee. This is stuff that's going to last 15, 20 years in your drawer, and you're going to have pride every time you wear it.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you saying that, because it is we put it's a life passion of mine, but to put the time and effort into the quality,
And
into
the money.
how the stitching works and the money and everything to just get it perfectly right. I like to think I'm in the business of selling happiness. I want these fans to be happy, to be able to wear something that they can't wear from anyone else. These are my original designs that just kind of like, if I like them, hopefully someone else does too. Now 8 years and hundreds of thousands of fans later, and customers, we made that. So it's so awesome to be able to bring what we've created, these very cool designs that we've honed over the past 8 years and perfected, and bring them to the Roller Hockey International Collection.
Well, and Joe, that's kind of the exact same way I approached RHI. When we were designing logos and choosing colors and defining nicknames and designing jerseys or entire merchandise lines for the team or the league, that was the exact same process I used. Is like, not that I'm egocentric by any means, but it was like, if I like it, I think that has a good chance of maybe other people liking it. Or,
Exactly.
I kind of had a BS filter, for some of the stuff that was being proposed. It's like, no, the shelf life on that is like 5 minutes. This isn't fast fashion. We want things that are going to last. And we had no idea that what we created would last like this and with
Yeah.
the same level of intensity that it still exists. I mean,
Yeah.
we struck something, and it's really, really cool to be talking about it 30 years later.
Yeah, yeah. And this is just the start. This is episode one. I'm excited to deep dive into these stories. I mean, RHI had innovations in the jersey, in these designs. You, as particular as me, checking every stitch, every detail, had so much to do with like what these jerseys were, what they became, what these designs became. And now, leagues like the NHL are using a lot of these
So
designs.
I honestly, it's the same thing. I was a young 20s something. I didn't approach it like I was trying to reinvent the game or trying to do something cool. It just needed to be done. It needed to be better. And the league or the dynamics of RHI demanded a better jersey and demanded a better pant. I mean, we couldn't exist same old as the NHL. Take the puck, for example. Obviously, we couldn't use a rubber puck, so we had to create a new one. Well, the same thing happens when you're playing in the summer. You need lighter jerseys. You need better jerseys. You need better fitting. You need better pants. You can't wear socks. So we just did things because they needed to be done, not because we were trying to be different.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not like you just took anything that like, okay, this will work. You had many iterations and used the best thing that worked for those. So, and
And
that's
we'll go around, we'll tell stories around the campfire on this, but if there's anybody that deserves any credit for things like logos and jerseys and pants and uniforms, it's CCM. The leaders at CCM, who were one of our best partners, they were an incredible partner to work with in creating all of the looks and feel and the taste of RHI.
yeah.
They were incredible to work with, and we'll tell those
Yeah.
stories as we go down the road. But things like our companies like Bauer and Carhu, Canadian and Jofa and Heaton, RHI doesn't exist without the hockey manufacturers. They were the lifeblood to what we were pumping. We couldn't have existed without those hockey manufacturers, and the first year in particular, they really gave us the energy to exist on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. No, that's amazing to hear. And those names are still around, and we still, they are the top of hockey and hockey manufacturing. So I'm excited to get into some of these designs. One that just strikes me is the jersey designs that they made and the CCM, how they were piecing them together. One was the Edmonton Sled Dogs that has that back lower panel that's like a sled. It's so cool. But you showing me the actual jersey, it's actually a different stitched on panel piece. Like, just intricate piece of work. So episode 2, we got some collectors on, and we'll be going over the intricacies and real details of these fine jerseys. So looking forward to that.
I can't wait to bring Vince and Adam on. It's scary how much they know about these jerseys. I mean, it's like, how do you know that stuff? That was supposed to be me and somebody else. How do you know that?
Yeah.
And I think those two guys are among a handful of people in North America. I mean, a very small handful of people who have single-handedly kept the league alive. In their efforts to enhance their personal collections, they have collected stories. They've established relationships with the players who are selling these jerseys. Yeah, I think we're going to have a great episode, and maybe a series of episodes with Vince and Adam. Great guys and amazing storytellers. But what a wealth of knowledge they're going to bring to this podcast. I can't wait.
Oh, me neither. I'm very excited for that. Just the stories. I mean, the stories that you've already shared are really kind of what has turned this into a living, breathing thing. So to hear it from some other perspectives as well is just going to be incredible.
Well, and I'm excited to bring some of the other people that I knew and worked with in the league back to the podcast to share their passion. Not that we want to reveal any, or, we want to tip our hand or anything, but we've got some cool people lined up, man.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking about people who are at the top of the sports and entertainment industry, top of the finance world, players who were in the Hall of Fame. I mean, we're talking about a who's who of not just those who were involved in RHI, but they still want to talk about it with us. So I can't wait for this podcast to kind of roll itself out and we reveal more layers to the RHI onion.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear those either. I'm super excited. Yeah. So do you want to share with the audience on how you got involved with RHI to begin with?
I don't want to make this a long story, but it's a pretty cool story. I moved from St. Louis.
We want to hear it.
Yeah, I was born and raised in St. Louis. I was I was a schoolyard hockey kid. I never played really organized hockey, even though we would organize neighborhoods against each other. And I played pickup in the rinks and stuff, but hockey to me was always kind of a secondary sport. Even though St. Louis is a great hockey market, I just didn't have access to it. But I loved hockey. Somehow, some way, I was an ardent Blues guy. Hockey was in my blood. I just didn't know it. And so when I moved to Southern California with my then girlfriend, I started playing pickup. Because why not? That's what you do, right? You want to meet people, you want to network for jobs. I pickup. And this guy named Jeff Booma found me in the line, and I'm taking shots on his goalie, and he skated over to me and he said, "You're on my team." Okay, great.
That's a good
sign.
And
little did I know that meeting Jeff Booma changed my life forever. This was in the middle of the recession in Southern California, and he said, "Oh, you're looking for work? You love sports? I got somebody for you to meet." And I had no idea that he was going to introduce me to a freaking legend in Dennis Arthur Murphy. Yeah. And if you don't know Dennis Murphy, Wikipedia link underneath me right here. He's probably the most amazing executive in sports history. He helped found the WHA. He helped found the American Basketball Association. He helped found World Team Tennis. And he was a co-founder of Roller Hockey International. And so when I met Jeff, it was very early, mid-92, and they were just coming off of their tour where they introduced Roller Hockey International to the league. They needed people in the front office, and I was Dennis Murphy's secretary for a couple of weeks.
Nice.
That's how I got started. And, we were such a small, talented office of really passionate guys that had been through the ringer with Dennis. we just all kind of picked up whatever we needed to do, and gradually I just started accumulating experiences and responsibilities. And who knew, 4 years later that I'd be leading 4 divisions, 4 departments, leading international expansion, licensing, merchandising, development of the speed puck. I mean, who knew? It was, that story can never be duplicated today.
Mm.
I don't know why the universe picked me to live it. I'm just really thankful it did. And it changed my life forever. It changed my life on what work was supposed to look like and feel like. It changed my ideas about sports and entertainment. It changed everything about me. And sadly, nothing has ever lived up to my RHI experience. Dennis set the bar pretty high for me, and we've never gotten to it, but I'm working back to it now, and we'll tell more about that later, maybe at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, lovely. And you're working on some exciting stuff, so we're looking forward to hearing that. But wow, what a pleasure that must have been. I mean, working under Dennis Murphy, everything I read about him, hear about him, and watching these RHI kind of untold story, some of the documentaries on YouTube and stuff like that. Everyone, I know the Bus family loves him. Everyone had just nothing but like top-notch praise for this guy. So, thank you,
We'll hear
Dennis
that
Murphy,
from
for
all of
making
our
something
guests.
incredible.
Yeah, we'll hear that from all of our guests.
Yeah.
Whether or not they knew Dennis directly, they knew of Dennis Murphy, because everything he did on a day-to-day basis in the league office touched them, whether they were a player, an owner, manager, media.
Hmm.
Dennis was that good. And then, of
That's
course,
pretty
we had
impressive.
Ralph Backstrom, who should be in the NHL, the International Hall of Fame, Hockey Hall of Fame. Ralph was, he's a world-class human being who knew what hockey should be. And Ralph created the rules that we still play by today.
Right.
So, I mean, come on, I'll tell you some Ralph Backstrom stories, and you'll just come away from those stories thinking that Ralph should be an angel, much less a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
We had a who's who of people in the front office. Larry King, who was the once husband to Billie Jean King, and he brought all of his tennis experience into RHI. Even Alex Belhumeur, who was on the he was a port of commissioners, on the board of commissioners for the Port of Long Beach, brought incredible wealth of experience to RHI, business and practical experience. We just had the coolest people ever coming together to change culture and change professional sports. We just thought that was the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, that's
We
it.
didn't
Yeah.
know. We didn't know. We were doing it,
Yeah. And
Who
you were
knew?
just doing it.
Who knew
That's
that it
it.
was supposed to be hard?
Yeah. And that's amazing. I mean, I love the idea of creating this new league too. So the rules are yours. You don't have to change the rules. You can make your own new rules, which is what Ralph Backstrom did, right? I mean, he was the commissioner, and yeah, made a lot of the rules. I think he had a lot to do with the overtime and shootout and things like that, the 4-on-4. Yep, which is massive. So yeah, so cool, so cool. But it's what a yeah, you're not changing things. You're creating new that in a way is changing everything. But
And
just such a cool.
it was that sense of fearlessness
Hmm. Yeah,
that I just absorbed. I mean, you heard me touch on it earlier about redesigning jerseys and making
yeah,
logos and team names. Well, that was just the way it was supposed to be. I didn't come by that by accident. I
right.
was absorbing all of that from Dennis and Ralph and Larry and Alex. I mean, come on.
Love
What
it.
that was my MBA and my doctoral thesis in sports management just as
Yeah,
my job.
yeah,
Who knew?
yeah. Well, that's super exciting, and I mean, just awesome on how the universe works and how it brought you together there. And they obviously got the right guy. I mean, you wore every hat in under the league and did them all incredibly well. And they got a super smart, well-spoken guy who now I'm honored to work with and to hear your stories and to take what the things that you've created, your creations, and kind of put them on my creations and our creations and kind of combine them and just relive the spirit and revitalize the spirit of not only RHI, but hopefully roller hockey as a whole. A lot of your stories, your background stories, are very similar to mine. I grew up a little younger than you on Long Island, New York, and every day after school, it was put your blades on, get your stick, bang it on the street, and all the kids would come out. I mean, maybe you'll go do your homework later, maybe you already finished it in class, but then we would just play in the streets. And I just, remember playing whatever, Blink 182 on the sidelines out of our little tape recorder, Green Day Dookie, and then having to move the net every once in a while for cars
Right.
coming, right? And it's just
Cars,
like,
cars.
yeah. And whatever kids can come out and play, come out and play. Sometimes you have 4, sometimes you have 15 kids, guys, girls, everyone on the block. It was awesome. Awesome. So that's when I first saw this. And that was my first introduction growing up on Long Island. I came from, middle class family. It was totally fine, but ice hockey is an expensive sport. So I wasn't able to, my parents couldn't afford me to play ice hockey until 6th grade. I started playing roller in kindergarten. I've been playing ever since. Now it's kind of similar timeline to yours. I live in Southern California. I'm in San Diego. And like you said, I don't like too much organized, but pick up every Monday at the local Chula Vista rink. There you go. Like, and still the spirit still lives on. There's still a lot of excitement behind roller hockey. And it's growing, and especially in these places like Southern California, where I guess roller hockey's always kind of been, it's been a hotbed for,
Well, you
but
know what,
ice hockey here as well.
Ralph kind of said that. Ralph kind of had a sort of a mantra for guys like us and people like us around the world, not just in San Diego or St. Louis. And Ralph used to say, now that we've got RHI off the bench, let's just say,
Mhm.
he said, everybody with a street address can play hockey now.
Love that quote. Love that quote. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and that fit us. It fit our experience,
Yeah.
and it fit your generation specifically.
Yeah.
So, I
Well,
mean,
I know
that's
RHI, and you were catering to the younger kids as well, and doing these youth programs and getting kind of all the youth involved and the excitement behind this. So for me, I when I grew up, roller skates, the roller blades, excuse me, the 4 in a row were always there. I remember my old coaches would wear the skates, the 2 and 2, and they would play in those, but all the kids were wearing the blades. So they must have just come out as I was kind of starting, right? So you guys, I mean, I would say, Dennis Murphy's kind of genius saw the explosion and invention of the roller blades and how that could be used more. I know roller hockey was used more for like ice hockey players in the off season, right? That was a big thing for them to still be
well.
able to get
So
out there.
Ralph was actually one of the innovators of the inline hockey skate back in the
Wow.
1970s. Okay,
Wow.
he used
Okay.
to train. So when he played in the WHA with the LA Sharks, he used to train in his neighborhood with inline skates. So if you can imagine this in the
Wow.
mid 1970s,
Yeah, yeah.
he worked with a guy named Maury Silver, who eventually became the lead owner, the family ownership of the Anaheim Bullfrogs. So the Anaheim Bullfrogs are rooted in the LA Sharks and in Ralph Backstrom and in the inline skate. But parallel to all of this was the introduction of the brand rollerblade. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
they were introduced, I'm going to say very late 80s, early 90s by a guy named Scott Olson in Minnesota. Now, rollerblade was just like becoming a thing. It wasn't a lifestyle fad. It wasn't something that had, that was restricted to Minnesota or the beaches of California. It was just starting to like penetrate culture. And so there was this confluence of synchronicities between the invention of the rollerblade or the introduction of it and inline hockey and Ralph and Dennis. And it just all hit in this lab explosion and created RHI. It was amazing how it all came together. But Scott Olson deserves a lot of credit. His brother Brennan is another guy who's critical to the launch of rollerblade. But yeah, they knew what they were doing. They were onto something. But so was Ralph back in the 1970s with Maury Silver.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. Yeah. Might have been on the first one on rollerblades. And
I mean,
speaking of the Bullfrogs, we know you had a lot
right
to do
there.
with
I
them
mean,
too.
but Ralph used to be laughed at by his teammates. Like, what are
Really?
you doing, man?
Well,
He's
what were they doing? Just running? Yeah, they were training.
drinking and smoking, man. That was their
Yeah,
off-season
that's the off
training.
season. Yeah.
Ralph was skating, but
I
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
An innovator through and through, and it shows in his rules. And now I love how, the NHL and some of these bigger leagues have adopted many of these rules because they make the game better. So,
It's the
yeah,
ultimate version of the game now.
yeah, such cool innovations all around due to RHI. So,
Yeah.
kudos to you and the team. I mean, everyone there. You're a bunch of rule breakers and rule makers, and we love it.
We didn't know what we were doing. We just making it up.
Yeah. Well, we know you were the director of communications for the Bullfrogs as well, right?
Yeah, after I left the league office, I moved over to the Bullfrogs and became their director of communications and public relations. And we had a great team in I think it was '95, and we should have gone all the way, but we had a couple of injuries that knocked us out of the playoffs. And but yeah, that was an experience I'll never forget too, working at the team level.
Yeah, you got a couple Murphy Cups under the Bullfrogs too, right? And they played at the Pond, if I'm not mistaken, right? Where the Ducks play now, but before the Ducks even played there, correct?
Hey, the Bullfrogs were the very first professional athletic event in the Arrowhead Pond. Very first.
Nice. I
Yep.
love that.
Yep.
Love that.
I
Wish I
think
could
we
have
had about
attended a
over
game.
12,000 that night. It was
Wow.
It was like,
Wow.
welcome RHI, 12,000
is
fans
awesome.
screaming in a beautiful new venue in Anaheim, California.
Yeah.
Is this like pinch yourself moment?
That is awesome. That is awesome. It sounds like Anaheim's going through another one of those. They have another, I think, multi-billion-dollar facelift for that whole area, which is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, the new
But
owners are really doing great things there.
Speaking of the Bullfrogs, Steve, we got you a little
What's
something
this?
here.
Oh, look at that. Look at
The
that.
Bullfrogs hockey tank. First one ever made.
That logo's never going to get old.
And yeah.
Oh!
Yeah.
You did not.
We
Oh!
customized it.
You did not.
That's right.
Look at you.
93 for the year the team came out, if I'm not mistaken on that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, we just love these designs and logos. The colors pop. I can't wait to get into all the designs and logos and just kind of, that's my thing. I love putting them on wearable clothes here for the rest of the fans and the rest of the world to enjoy.
Now wait a minute, Joe. Hold on now. I don't have the body for a tank anymore, man. I'm not Joe Carson. All right, I'm not skating on the beach. I will probably scare my wife. I'll probably scare my wife if I wear that. So, but
all right. Well, we'll get you a hoodie too and a windbreaker while we're at it. Yeah. The beauty of this is, I mean, working with you and our art team that we've all worked together, and you've really instilled some real excitement in them, bringing they're just logos or flat pictures without your stories that bring them to life, right? So now the beauty is we've completed the collection, and now we can put these on whatever we want, which is our full tried and true Bench Clears collection. So
that's sick.
It's not just the tanks. That's obviously our flagship product. But we have these incredible shorts, and you got the rock and roll, the Jersey rock and rollers. Like, you can't make these designs out. Like this was the most fun collection I've ever been a part of making. Because
what? Now I'm mad you haven't shown these to me yet, man. I'm seeing these for the first time. These are great.
We're saving that for next episode.
These are great.
Yeah.
Holy
I got a couple previews hanging in the back.
Yeah, I don't think I didn't see those. Yeah, I don't think I didn't see those.
I can't wait to get into all the stories. I mean, we have something like 40 teams, just through and through, and all these designs. So, really incredible stuff. I'm totally looking forward to hearing all your stories, all of our guest stories, going over the designs, going over just the stories and everything that made the heartbeat behind roller hockey in general, but then the league itself, RHI. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, I really think the cool part of being a listener to this podcast is going to be hearing the stories from the different perspectives, right? So you'll hear my perspective from the league office or from the team. You'll hear from players. You'll hear from owners. You'll hear from maybe a referee or two. I mean, you're going to hear about RHI, and it's not just going to be about the stories of the fights or the late night antics, but you're going to hear from some guys who understood that they were changing the game. And they'll talk us through some of those stories, and I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for too. I want to hear these just as much as everyone else. So awesome. I mean, I think that should wrap up our episode 1 intro into it. I'll be your host, Joe. Steve is your co-host, and we'll explore the world of this crazy, incredible, unforgettable RHI Roller Hockey International.
I can't wait.
Thanks for everyone tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.
Get off the bench